We're a nonprofit here based in Austin that stands for Building Relationships, Awareness, Voices, and Engagement. And it's so great to be here on a Sunday afternoon. It's Earth Day is tomorrow, so we have a very special event of all the brave young leaders. What they've been doing this past semester has been talking about environmental justice and its impact on our mental health. So that'll be the conversation of today, and I want to thank Yvonne, Colleen, and Alyceia for being our panelist, and Allie, who's our moderator. Because tomorrow's Earth Day, and this month is also National Poet Month and also Arab American Heritage Month. So we have some snacks provided by Peace Bakery in Delhi, which is up north. They're a Palestinian-owned Middle Eastern restaurant. So we ordered lots of salads and dips, kind of eating low on the food chain and having plant-based for reducing the carbon emissions. And so there's lots of different snacks. The very last one with the baklava does have nuts for those that may have nuts allergies. So that last tray with the baklava desserts have nuts in there. So I'm just gonna hand it over because I know this is the Brave Young Leaders program, and I want to pass the mic to Allie, our moderator.
Hi everybody, thank you guys so much for coming. I'm the president of the Brave Young Leaders program, and I just wanted to welcome you guys to our event. Brave Young Leaders, if you don't know what it is, it's a youth empowerment program where we're able to talk about and tackle different issues by planning events like this, and we've been really focused on environmental awareness, so hence our event for today. But I just wanted to take a minute and have the Brave Young Leaders introduce themselves. So us in the red shirts, everyone's just gonna kind of go around the room and say their name really quickly to start, if you want to start.
I'm Phelan. Woohoo!
Alyceia.
Go ahead.
Alyceia.
I'm Jasmine.
Sophia.
I'm Kim. I'm Izazi. Nadia.
I'm Milcheska.
Okay, I'm gonna pass the mic over for our home.
Thank you so much, guys, once again for coming out to our Brave Young Leader event today. This month is National Poetry Month. Us as Brave Young Leaders, we wanted to put together a forum centered around environmental justice today. So just take a couple minutes and just listen to us in our forum. In the midst of April showers, brave flowers arise. Emerging tower buildings under polluted skies.
World and mind connected within, only we can bring these together and mend.
Environmental harmony is linked to the mind, so the flowers and bees, please be kind.
When nature thrives, so do we, like kids in the spring climbing up trees. Our future calls out to you and me.
Endure the storm together or fall alone. So heed our warning before we fall back to stone. The world is in the hands of people like you and me, so open our eyes and perceive. April showers birth brave flowers. In the heart of adversity, we'll never lose our power.
Concrete jungles echo with nature's call. We build these communities to rise and stand tall.
Hope still blooms in the gardens of change, where voices rise, refusing to estrange.
In the balance of nature, we find our worth, in the pursuit of justice for our shared earth.
In the tapestry of life, we must play our part.
With bravery, mindfulness, and a gentle heart. Thank you so much. All right, so next in our program, we're going to get started with our panel discussion, and Allie is our moderator, so we're going to turn the mic back over to Allie.
Hello again. Like Ty said, my name is Allie. I'm a junior at Anderson High School and president of the Brave Young Leaders program. And I want to thank everyone for joining us today for Brave's April Community Connection. April showers bring brave flowers. There we go. And yeah, for those of you who don't know, Brave stands for Building Relationships, Awareness, Voices, and Engagement in Communities. So we are here to have an amazing conversation. We have an amazing group in front of me today. I'm really excited to get into these questions. But first, we always want to start off that We acknowledge that we are standing on the ancestral homelands of many indigenous tribes. We acknowledge that systematic elimination and forced expulsion of these indigenous peoples of Central Texas enabled the society today to develop on these lands. And we pay respect to the people of Plains tribes past, present, and future. So first, to start off, I just love for the panelists to give a brief introduction to themselves and any work, school, education related relevant history that you may want to share.
Thank you. Hi, you guys. My name is Alyceia Evans. I am a new member of the Brave team. Super excited to be here. But I am also a college student. I attend Texas State University. I'm a senior, so I graduate in August. Super excited about that. Thank you. I major in sociology and I minor in human development and family sciences. Outside of that, I'm an artist, so super excited to bring my creativity and my love for society and the environment to the Brave team this year.
Hey y'all, I'm Colleen Dieter. I am the founder of Central Texas Seed Savers. It's an organization that's working to prevent extinction of valuable plants here in Central Texas through seed sharing programs. I also own a business called Red Wheelbarrow, where I help do-it-yourselfers figure out what to do with their yards. So I'm a professional gardener. And I also have a podcast and a radio show. The podcast is called The Horticulturati, and the radio show is called The Horticulture Hangover. And they're both available as podcasts anywhere you get podcasts. So I'm so thrilled to be here to talk about environmental justice with y'all and get to know y'all better. Thanks.
Hello everybody, my name is Yvonne. I am currently a senior majoring in computer science, math, and applied engineering at Houston, Tennessee University in Houston. And I graduate in 2 weeks. And after graduating, I'm gonna go pursue my After graduating, I'm gonna go pursue my PhD in the University of Michigan, studying material science and engineering, but for nanotechnology and environmental sustainability applications. And I have a nonprofit called Yvie DODEQ, and we collaborate with different organizations in Africa, like She Unites Africa and Purple Pact Initiative. Within She Unites Africa, we try to reach out to communities and see their needs and get to their needs within all of our organization. And with Purple Pact Initiative, it's a sexual health education initiative, and we hope that everyone has pads and know how to use them, and also just know about sexual health education in general, and also fight against the bad rape culture within the whole continent, if possible. And we also distribute reusable pads, and that's also a way for us to work within the environment. I'm also a fashion designer, and I had a show last Saturday with Slow Fashion, and I'll also be at the UT Austin fashion show for Earth Day on Thursday. So if you guys are there, catch me there. And what I do is upcycled materials mixed with like African materials, clothes. So try to fight the fashion problem with waste problems too in society. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yes, I loved all of that. I'm really excited to get into these questions with you guys. So we're talking about environmental awareness today. We're going to start off with a kind of fun question, and anyone's open to answer. What is your favorite weather and why?
Easy question. About 79 degrees, blue sky with big fluffy clouds, and a threat of rain, like it could rain at any second. And the suspense is killing me.
My favorite weather used to be rain, because I just love being inside and just like hearing the rain sound. I still kind of sleep to like white noise or rain sound. So I guess that's a long running thing, but now I just really love the spring because it's like so great to be outside. It's not too hot, it's not too cold. And I also love seeing the blooming of the flowers. It's like so beautiful whenever it's like spring, then you get to see like all the pink and yellow and blue flowers come up.
I feel like I might be the odd one out here, but I love the summertime. I love the sun. I love when it's hot outside, mainly because you don't really realize how much you miss it until it's gone. Whenever those winter months are around, I definitely find myself begging in my room for the sun to just pop out, even just a little bit. So yes, I love when the sun's out and I get to soak it all up.
I definitely agree with all of those. I feel like mine changes like depending on the season. Okay, so for our next question, what is environmental justice to you and why is it important?
I feel like environmental justice is the awareness that we are part of an environment and our environment is part of us, and we are one with the environment. That's why I like to believe that we are one with the environment. So however our environment is feeling is how we are feeling. So it's kind of like justice for us in the society, but we reflecting it through our environment. So it's being conscious that however we are treating our environment is basically how we're going to feel at that particular time. So being unfair to the environment is also being unfair to people that live in the environment. So I think environmental justice is human justice, but in a way that reflects upon like what we can see physically and what deliberate action we put out in the way we like treat our environment.
I think for me, environmental justice is about access, equal access for all people to bread and roses, your basic needs being fulfilled by when it comes to food, access to healthy food, access to beauty, access to outdoor spaces, access to trees, to shade, your homes, our homes, and not about ownership or profit from those resources that belong to all of us. And that's what Central Texas Seed Savers is all about, making sure that all people have access to seeds and plants that we need for both survival and also to be able to thrive.
I really liked that answer. I think my understanding of environmental justice is also rooted in accessibility. I learned recently, actually, that you can't exactly discuss different aspects of climate change without also understanding environmental justice and how important it is within our society and how everyone deserves equitable access, to things such as green spaces, being able to walk outside in the air and not be completely just polluted because they're so close in proximity to these different types of like factory sites and everything of that sort. So yes, I think just one, understanding how important it is to have access to those spaces, but also understanding how we can take our own ownership and responsibility, and that is also just as important.
Well, took my next question, but let's expand on that. So, like you said, diversity and access is very important when it comes to discussing environmental justice. So, how can we tackle that issue and help bring those green spaces and seeds and things like that, like you said, to maybe areas that aren't, not allowed, but like don't have those things?
I think for me personally, it starts with educating yourself. There's so much to make ourselves aware of whenever it comes to environmental justice and understanding how we can make impact, how we can create and incite change within our communities. So just kind of diving into those spaces such as Brave, of course, where you can go and get that knowledge of how you can stand up and be a leader in your community and show up for those who might not know how to show up for themselves is definitely a great way to start.
I think having community like this community, trying to reach out to people outside of your own community too, and keeping it really simple, just doing small things day to day that can help. I can say from my own experience that doing small things day to day, small actions day to day help me feel less despair. And I take my despair and my anger and turn it into action. And try to reach out to as many other people as I can who also want to take action. Every time I'm around the seeds and every time I come to an event like this, I feel lifted and I feel hopeful again. And that's the power of plants. And I feel like I can, in my own life, escape a little bit of the weightiness of environmental injustice and all the other injustices in our lives by creating some connectivity through seeds and plants. And I've had the fortunate experience of meeting people from all walks of life through seed events and seed swaps and building community around seeds. And I really believe that plants are the answer to all of the world's problems, and access to plants is key. So that's my mission. Staying mission focused in my life gives me my life meaning.
Yeah, very, very great answers and also similar. I feel like there are layers to it. So the first layer obviously is going to be education and having people be educated. We can always say we educate ourselves, and then there are other people who do not have the luxury to get that level of education. So mostly bringing that same level of education to them and presenting it in like forums, making it normalized in like schools, having like kids learn it from the basis, and then they're like aware from the beginning. So definitely targeting younger audiences and also older audiences in like the communities. And then the next layer obviously is taking deliberate action within ourselves. So like just being conscious, like whenever I'm going out, I'm like, I'm gonna take my own bottle if I know I'm gonna stay out for so long, and instead of like buying water and like not knowing where to like trash it and things like that. And also just knowing, like my sister would say, oh, it's only because you're here and that's why I'm not trashing my stuff improperly. And I'm like, so I'm your police, how can you do it when I'm not here too? I'm like, okay, that kind of thing. So those kind of like action and accountability within ourselves goes a long way. But then it also, the next layer is going to be accountability within corporations that can actually, that do the most harm and then can actually now make the most impact within the environmental space. And that's probably why I'm doing like my PhD, because I feel like if we prefer the solutions, then they would have no excuse as to like why they are not going to like switch to the environmentally sustainable solution for like a community. So holding ourselves accountable, and then now holding like the bigger corporations that do most of the gas emission and all of the other harmful things like deforestation and all of those things, and like not looking forward or just like settling on a particular solution when there could be better is going to be like the very last step for us in the layer. And then that way we are just going to, I guess, flourish as a society.
So to kind of expand a little bit more on these ideas that you guys are sharing right now, how can we work together as a community to mitigate the effects of climate change within those more vulnerable population groups who are either don't have access or have even been denied access to resources.
It's a very, very big mission in like hindsight, and we can always start small, which is the education part and also the accountability part. However, we also have to look beyond just the problem of climate change. Whenever I make an argument, I always say that it is an economical problem. Any problem we are facing in society is an economical problem. Think about anything. I can find a way to like tie it back to the economy, tie it back to money. And whenever you say, okay, smaller communities that don't have access to these things, I grew up in a household, my mom, like my birth mom, like loved planting trees. Like there's like a soursop tree, an orange tree, there's like yams, there are vegetables like all over like the house that we ended up having. But before she had the opportunity to do that, she worked like all day. Like there were points where I didn't even see her like at home for like weeks on because she was working a lot. And now also like my godmother also works all day because they are trying to like get money so that they would be able to like not want to work as much. So when they're working, the only time they have is to sleep. They are not thinking about, I'm going to change something in my lifestyle right now. And a lot of these communities that we are trying to reach, and majority of the communities are also like people who are like very average or very poor. And we have to also find a way to like move ourselves out of just like, oh, we should just take this particular action, we should just have this particular access, or we should just sell this kind of food. How much do they cost? What other things are we doing in terms of like society to hold not just like the government accountable, but also to like prefer solutions for these people who do not have like the resources and the luxury to engage in all of these actions that we technically have the luxury to like engage in. Like if you say, okay, come to this particular community event, and they have to work at that particular time, they're like, okay, I'm going to work because I need money to feed my kids. So they are not going to come for that community event. They are not going to pick up a hobby to like garden. They are not going to even pick up a hobby for themselves in general. So just thinking about people, thinking about their physical well-being and their mental health well-being, and also now seeing like the bigger society and other things we could apply ourselves that in the long run would now make our main goal better is just like everything that we could do. So just looking far beyond like just environmental sustainability and now looking to economical problems and also societal problems and health problems could help us apply ourselves better for the environment.
I completely agree with everything Yvonne said. Yeah, it's such a hard question to answer for all of those reasons, because I think most individuals are just barely keeping their heads above water. And I think one thing that I'm thinking about in my life a lot is living in a capitalistic society that we're in, and the benefits and privileges that some people get from living in a capitalistic society. That's one thing. How can we fill the gaps? How can we fill the gaps? What can I do day to day to fill in those gaps? And what systems are in place that I can take advantage of that exist already to help fill those gaps? So with Central Texas Seed Savers, we put seeds into the public libraries. So that way folks can go to the library, take out seeds, and if they're successful with the seeds, they can bring seeds back. You can bring any seeds to the library to share. And so using the existing library system that is free, relatively accessible to a lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of people is one way to get into communities to distribute seeds and forward environmental justice. It's a way of filling a gap and not having to, create something from scratch, but using an organization that is meant for distribution. See, the library is very good at distributing things, and they're good at distributing information, and seeds are a type of genetic information. So thinking of creative ways like that to fill in the gaps that capitalism leaves in our day-to-day lives.
I really like both of those answers. I feel like as I was listening to the both of you speak, it kind of made me sit and reflect on how I myself can show up in my community. And so something that my friend had also mentioned was a lot of our issues are often bigger than just spreading the importance of environmental justice. So with that, I feel like it's important for us as individuals. You almost have to, my mom would always say growing up, check your privilege, like you still have access to things that other people might not have access to. So then it kind of poses the question in my mind of how can I go and show up for these people who can't? So you think of maybe like, I don't know, there are like rural spaces, plenty of them around here in Austin. What if we go out and we're cleaning up these green spaces so these people do have access to them? Or we're going and we are, promoting free events for them in their communities and not trying to bring them into our gentrified areas and things of that sort. So there's plenty of ways I feel we as others who have more readily accessible available areas to us that we can show up for these other people who can't exactly have as direct access to these forms of privilege, for lack of a better word.
So we talked about how important education is and, awareness, and how that's such a good starting point for people who don't really know what to do or where to start when tackling this issue. So the question was, how can we be more conscious of environmental justice when casting our votes? And I think a big part of that is education. So I wanted to just ask you guys kind of if you want to shout out any places that are good places to get education on environmental awareness, or where you've gone to educate yourselves, or anything that you have to share with the audience where they can gain that knowledge.
I personally don't have a specific place to which I go and retrieve my information other than, the internet. But something I would encourage people to do as we do get closer into casting our votes is maybe just read up on the elects platforms and things of that sort, understanding what it actually is that you're voting on and how those different things affect not just you, but also the people around you.
I also don't have one specific place. I mostly follow a lot of environmental accounts on Instagram and just like people that care about the environment as well. And then there's also a very tight-knit community that I have. It's kind of growing. I just joined. It's connected to Still She Unites Africa, and then we're just like a group of like people who are Africans but also care about like the environment, because that's kind of like a new space. So it's more like the West fighting the environmental justice, and then they're like, oh, we don't really do that much in America, so that kind of thing. So I joined that forum, and then we're looking forward to like being representing and talking about how we can actually still do something to like rural communities that would help make impact there environmentally, and also to stop. Our major goal is also to like stop them from creating harmful practices in those rural communities as well, in when the development starts or as the development is ongoing, that kind of thing. So being more conscious in developing areas so that we don't have to like repeat the same mistakes that would now require us to like switch over in a very I guess environmentally not economically unsustainable way later in the future. Yeah, so that has been like part of my engagement recently. Within voting, I'm super into politics for personal reasons, in the way that I I think when you're like born in a certain environment and also like certain position in society, you do not have an excuse to be ignorant about certain things. And if you say, okay, it doesn't concern me, oh, I'm good now, I got like a degree, so society sees me as a higher person or something, it doesn't still remove that exact fact from you. So it's kind of like your duty to know who exactly is going to be leading you. And most times we vote for the lesser evil. And I'm trying to go to more like, let's vote for no evil, because there are actually like almost no evil candidates, and then we just end up voting for the lesser evil. Like, I feel like it'd be so surprising if like someone from like an independent party wins an election, and we should shock them one time and do that. Yeah, something like that. But I think following through during election season, knowing these people digging into their past and just like watching videos like the debates, I feel like most people don't actually watch that. Hear how they talk and react to certain things, knowing their true intention. Like, are they baiting the cloud? Is there dogma going on right now? Like, can you sense those kind of things? It kind of like just helps us in general to like know what our next, at least our future in the next 4 years is gonna be like.
I think for me, I'm really fortunate. My husband is a rhetorician. He's an expert in rhetoric, and it's easy for me to ask him questions when I hear a politician say something that I'm not sure about and kind of get through BS. I think it's important for all of us to use our internal BS detectors and really ask questions and talk to friends and be examined in our votes. Even voting, like Yvonne was saying, even getting to the polls, I think, is like a luxury, and it shouldn't be. And so it's such a hard question to answer. In terms of getting environmental justice information, I'm always trying to reach out to people in my community and ask them what the issues are and find out what the local issues are here in Austin. And try to stay plugged in with other community leaders and other environmental organizations. And just having coffee, like, that's the main thing for me, to feel like I'm actually getting something done.
Okay, so we're gonna shift a little bit and talk about two issues that aren't really talked about together, but I feel like do go hand in hand. And I would say that's in mental health and environmental justice. A lot of people, or just environmental awareness, a lot of people don't connect those two things. And they truly do, I think, go hand in hand. So the question is, do you believe that the environment you surround yourself in affects your mental health? And if so, how can those with little access to nature focus on staying healthy, mentally and physically?
Yeah, it definitely does affect your mental health and your state of being, also your physical health. So, and if your physical health is down, your mental health is down. It's just like, it goes hand in hand. And there's a study from, I think, Alabama A&M, and the study said that they were trying to create green spaces around their campus, and they just saw that students who went outside more and stayed in more green spaces just performed better and had better fitting to the environment and better mental health communications and more emotional awareness and stuff like that. So I feel like just knowing that is like a big plus, and then you're like, okay, why are we not having more green spaces around regular communities then? And it definitely correlates to like the space where you are, correlates to how you react, and then just knowing that just kind of gives us an edge in like, okay, how do we now make more spaces for people to be able to be more in touch with the environment, to like just want to go outside and like hang out there and say hi and like touch grass to avoid them from like punching a wall, that kind of thing. Like, okay, punch the grass instead of something. Yeah, and that's like something that we should always think about, I guess, in communication, because yeah, it does direct correlation, because what your environment gives you is kind of like what you give back to the environment.
Yeah, absolutely. I think having access to plants, whether that's an outdoor space or even an indoor plant, can completely change your mood and your mind. Caring for plants can entirely change your perspective on life. And I can only speak from my own experience. I know that there's lots of studies coming out about, access to trees, access to parkland, outdoors, but I know that for me, I can't live without having my hands in the soil and being around the plants and caring for them and seeing them grow and knowing that they are giving back to me by providing food, providing fiber for our clothes, providing oxygen that we breathe, building materials, providing food and habitat for animals, sequestering carbon to reverse climate change. When you garden and you're growing plants, you are reversing climate change. It is one of the few things that we can do as individuals to actively fight climate change. And for me, that's my whole mission in life. And again, like having a personal mission, that also brings me a tremendous amount of pleasure at the same time. It doesn't feel heavy. It doesn't feel like a chore. For me, this is what I love doing, and at the same time, it solves all of these other problems. And that's what keeps me going.
I would agree. I definitely think that being able to have access to the environment has a very huge impact on your overall mental health. And I say that based on my own personal experience. I'd never really sat back and thought to draw a connection between the two until I realized that it already kind of exists in my own personal world. Whenever I first started therapy, my therapist, her first suggestion to me was to go get a plant. And obviously I'm sitting in there in the chair looking at her like, are you crazy? Like, how is this supposed to help me? What do I pay you for? But then the connection that she had made to me was that, as you start to grow into this new person, like watch the plant grow with you, and try and understand, get a better like connection with nature, like enjoy yourself out in the sun, things of that sort. And now I have this cute little succulent named Whitney that I am a proud parent of. But yes, I definitely would like to say that it makes a huge impact. It's an outlet for most. And also it's just something that is fun. I find myself on the weekends now doing little gardening classes with my older sister, or a lot of trial and error trying to grow my own plants at home and things of that sort. So definitely something that I think everybody could get a good kick out of.
Okay, so diving kind of back into some things that we've already talked about, how can we identify habits / mindsets that we may like unconsciously even have that can be harmful to our environment?
I'll start. I think maybe it starts with kind of reversing some of those patterns. So I feel like I didn't necessarily realize how many things I was doing in my own daily life that were harmful to the environment until I started doing the exact opposite of that. For me, it started with utilizing eco-friendly products. I was always so keen to using like, really harsh like bleach or everything that I would find in my mom's cabinet back at home when I was younger. And then as I started shopping, realizing how many harmful chemicals I was actually putting out into the air and things of that sort. It wasn't until I went into Target and I started using Everspray, or I'm going to HEB and I'm using I think it's Field and Future that they have now, where I realized, even just those small little things make...
Please charge.
It was then, sorry, that threw me off a little bit. It was then that I realized just utilizing those smaller habits make a larger impact overall.
You don't have to buy things. 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 Do you need something? You don't have to buy it. You don't have to buy things.
That's everything, literally. Yeah. Major. You don't have to buy things. Again with like fashion. Stop buying too much clothes. There's a lot of clothes like to go around. Like you don't need to wear something new every time. You can always like revamp it. If you can't revamp it, I will provide it to you for free. If you come and give me to like revamp it. But then I don't always have time, so that's also an access issue. But it's also just like awareness that you don't not really need everything that you think that you need. And then sometimes I would have something and I'm like, wait, I haven't even touched it, so I didn't have to get it in the first place. Those kind of things. But aside that, it's also kind of, sometimes you don't notice the things you're doing until someone points it out to you, or until you see someone doing it differently, and then you're like, oh, is this how I'm supposed to do it instead? And then that way you become mentally conscious. So it's more like, I guess, being in touch with yourself and kind of knowing how you want to make an impact in the world, or what you don't want to be doing. So sometimes it's easy to just do things, but then it's also kind of better to know how you don't want to be. So you'd be like, I don't want to be this person, or this kind of person would suck if I'm like this. So that way you're going to catch yourself every time that you're kind of exhibiting a particular character that's like that.
I want to say something about that. Y'all are here already. That's enough. You don't have to beat yourself up every time you use a paper napkin. Don't get caught up in that. Do what you can, do the best you can, and keep your community at the front of your mind and be the person that you want to be, but don't agonize over every little thing, because most of the damage being done in the world is being done by systems and corporations. And you can, certainly we as individuals can make impacts in our communities by doing things like this, but don't let your inner critic take over and torture you every time you use a plastic bottle.
Okay, so we're going to be wrapping up here shortly, but we always like to
Talk. Can y'all hear me? Okay. We always like to end our panels with asking our panelists if they have any brave or action steps that they, for the audience, or that they individually take to help support and promote environmental justice.
I guess I'll start. This is a bit of a harder question for me, I'll be honest, just because I think it's forcing myself to take a lot of accountability in where I stand in just being a larger form of support in my community. So I would say that's my personal first step, is recognizing the impact that I, as an individual, have, taking accountability for my own actions, and just being aware of how I can show up, not just for myself a little bit more, but for the other people in my community, so I can make that environmental impact moving forward.
Okay, I want everyone here, if you don't know anything about plants, to learn about one plant that is in your neighborhood or in your yard. It could be a tree, something that you see every day. Try to identify that plant and get to know it. Okay, get to watch it once a week something like that throughout the whole year and see how it goes through its life cycle and see the things that happen to it. If there's a storm, see what happens to that plant, okay? If you're already a gardener, I want you to learn how to save seeds from one particular plant in your garden and take those seeds to the library, all right? And share those seeds with your friends. And you can sign up for the email newsletter with Central Texas Seed Savers at centexseedsavers.org and come to a seed swap or throw a seed swap and a plant swap with your friends and your neighbors in your community. It's a lot of fun. And I brought seeds today for everybody too.
Awesome. I don't have a rule book. I don't think I'm like a good rule follower, but that's also kind of a good thing sometimes. But in general, first of all, it's kind of like your responsibility to be aware. So get aware and know the kind of things that you want to do and how you can push forward to the impact in your community. It's a very individualistic community, like the society, rather, I won't say creative. The society is very individualistic, so it's like every man for himself, everybody doing their own thing, everybody trying to be like, I guess, reach on their own or something. And if you remove yourself from just being an individual and see yourself as an individual that's also part of a community, you kind of be more aware of the steps you're taking and your own personal footprint in your actions, and then also now see or notice other things that are going wrong and try to mitigate it if you can. However, just the awareness kind of goes a long way. And then take deliberate action. So be true to yourself, know yourself as someone who's not just an individual but an individual part of a community. Then take deliberate action after knowing like, okay, this is who I am as a person, I guess. And I would, as you're still learning, you can take deliberate action. And then after you take deliberate action, you keep pushing for more conversation, more change. Because once you're doing something that's within you, but once you share it with someone, that's another person, and that way it keeps spreading. And then just doing those and growing along and seeing if, even though you're not going to become like an environmental activist or something, within your own community and spreading the word and taking those small actions. Like I've noticed with kids in particular, if they see you do a particular thing and they think you're cool, they want to do it that exact way. And a lot of kids somehow think I'm cool, so they want to do things exactly how I do. So, and then I would hear them just like talking to someone that was like, Yvonne was doing it this way, and that's why I'm doing it like this. It's probably right. I'm like, okay, and now I have to be conscious about what I do because of that. And if you're doing it, knowing that even just like a small child who thinks you're cool is going to like pick up that habit is also something that you can just like keep doing as a daily step in hoping that it changes something.
Okay, so we wanted to open it up to the audience. If anybody has any questions that they want to ask the panelists, and I can bring you the mic, or you guys can just.
You guys were talking about the voting patterns of your elected officials. It's actually not a question. I was just going to throw this website out. If you sign on to govtrack.us, govtrack.us, it tells you your voter patterns of your potential elected official, everything they've signed, any bill that they've supported, anyone they've rejected, and you can go and look into what bill you're looking at. And the reason why a college professor told me years ago, don't ever listen to a politician what they say, look at what they've signed. And so the debates are, I like to call them sexy, but that's it, that's all they are. And so if you just really want to know what they have sponsored and what they believe in, it tell you everything. You go to the 90s, you can get updates. So it'll give you the live actual bill, so you're not looking at secondary sources, but you can look at the actual bill, the whole 150 pages, whatever it is.
Thank you.
And there's others like it. There's others like it. It's just that's the one I use.
Saw another one back there.
Okay, I have a question. So one of the things that I don't think is talked about a lot as corporations have raised DEI programs is there's this consciousness around coming to the space and coming to the company as, with your whole self and who you are. In the last couple of years, I've experienced, specifically around environmental justice, young environmental justice activists that might be working in some of these large companies that start to call out the contradictions of like styrofoam cups, no recycle bin, and it becomes then a performance or behavior problem within the corporation. So the juxtaposition of bring your whole self, just kidding, but don't talk about what we're doing that's not, right, aligned with the environment. What advice would you give to a young professional in that setting who really feels strongly about seeing the contradiction, but then acts on it and it becomes something different for them professionally?
Yeah, okay. So it's kind of obvious I'm in tech. My first corporate internship was at NVIDIA. It was really cool there. But then it also made me realize that I don't want to work for any corporations, and that's probably why I stood my ground and said I'm gonna go to a PhD program and I'm gonna have my own lab and all of those kind of things if I'm successful. But yeah, it's kind of like seeing patterns and then noticing I don't want to align myself with any of these mega corporations. However, if you have to and if you're now in those spaces, how exactly can you now actually advocate? Yesterday, I just sent out a law. I was like, is there any rule protecting young people and young professionals from these corporations who can just wake up and just do anything and rescind their offer, or say you have this kind of problem and that would be their excuse to either lay you off or say, okay, you're not a great fit, or they notice something with your social media and then they're like, oh, you support Palestine, we don't like you anymore, that kind of thing. So things like that happen, and then they just get to go away with it because capitalist environment, society, culture. So right now, I guess it's now more on us as a young professionals. We first of all evaluate, is this a space I want to be in? Do I want to really work for Amazon and align my mission with your mission or something like that? Or be proud of it? Is this an accomplishment? So one thing I've also been telling my friends, I'm like, yeah, you're going to get paid a lot of money, which I don't think is enough, by the way. I think it's still very minimum. The economy is probably more expensive, but you're going to get paid a lot of money. But are you what do you align with? Are you going to feel like they're doing you a favor for paying you this amount of money? What are you going to be able to speak out on? And it's a conundrum. So you're going to choose to either speak out and see whatever the consequences are. And then that way you get to learn a pattern of speaking out. So if you can talk to other young people and say, hey, have you noticed this? Have you noticed this? Have you noticed this? And it's not just you speaking out. That way it will be it won't be a punishment. Would they I guess fire 50 people in their organization from different departments if they do that? If you guys speak out together, then that would be oh, it's these people who actually do not want the plastics in the office and they fire them. So that's a bad reputation for them. They don't want to do that. So finding strategic ways to speak out against certain actions, I guess, of these companies will kind of hold them accountable. Also, value yourself as an asset. Of course, you're oh, everyone, you can't be replaced easily. No, that's not true. I've noticed that that's not true. Having yourself, just knowing what you're doing in your work and then now proving that I am not as replaceable as you think I am is also going to make you be in a higher position that whenever you say something or request for something, they get to listen. Yeah, just strategies like that. Call people, your community.
I guess briefly, I would just want to add, or I guess agree with what Yvonne said as well. Stand up for what you believe in. I started my young professional career not too long ago, maybe about a year ago, but I was blessed to join on a company called Creative Action, if any of you are familiar, and definitely something that they preach is standing firm in your beliefs, even if you have to stand alone. And so whenever it comes to stepping into these other spaces that might not be as soft and cozy as Creative Action, you still have a responsibility to go in and stand up, not just for yourself, but for those around you. But just as Yvonne said, also recognize that you're not always standing alone. You know, just because you were the first to notice an issue doesn't mean that you are the only one. So being willing to call on your community and to band together to stand against the injustices that we often face environmentally, that can make a huge impact around us. So.
I think too, we can say, I'm a business owner myself. I own a really small business, but I'm always thinking about making money. And if there's something that you can do that benefits environmental justice movement in your workplace and it saves company money, then that's going to be more likely to actually happen. And they're also looking, you know, companies are motivated by marketing and greenwashing, you know, so if there's an action that can be taken for a business that actually makes an impact that they can also promote, so that they can get a story on Instagram about how they're doing something green, that's a win-win too. Like, you have to see it from other people's perspectives, even if those, I mean, they're running businesses and that's what it is, you know, and trying to persuade them to do something for warm and fuzzies is not always gonna fly, and then it's not gonna be heard.
Do you have any other questions from the audience? Yes.
How do you expand your community to people who are not necessarily in the same mindset as us? We are here intentionally, like, we believe in these efforts and practicing and like making this a practice. How are you approaching other folks who are reluctant to come to these spaces?
For me, it's been a really bizarre experience because there's something about seeds that brings everyone. I think people from all different backgrounds and points of view love the idea of a seed swap event because it's fun and doesn't sound exclusive, and it's not exclusive. It really truly is an inclusive event. But I think there's something about gardening and plants that has the power to bring people together. And I've been really fortunate in that way, and I've been really, really surprised by that. And I'm not sure sometimes how to handle that or what to do with it. But I feel really fortunate.
Well, sometimes I would just say engage in the healthy argument. I didn't say conversation, I said argument. Just like go back and forth, it's okay. I know it's kind of like, oh, it's problematic, I don't want to argue, someone raises their voice, or those, try not to be the one who raises their voice or something, and try and see if you can understand their point of view and relate it. Also, while you're doing it, also check your privilege, because sometimes you're arguing with people who do not have the means. Also, as we've said, like the economic issues, and then they'll be like, okay, and then someone be like, oh, just get an electric car. Like, okay, never mind, it's expensive, something like that. So with all of those, I guess, and there's also like a point of view. They'll be like, there's, I don't know, like people, they usually think like people who are into the environment are very annoying to talk to. So I don't have the experience though, but then they'll be like, oh, this person is just like really annoying. They're just super into their own self, and they just think like they're holy or better than everybody else, that kind of thing. So I guess more of like your character in general will bring them closer to you, and then they'll be like, okay, since this person is just really cool and I like who they are, then I would want to like know more about the causes that they are into. And then I think if you invite them to like places and just say let's go, or if you buy them a ticket, so instead of them purchasing their own ticket, you buy them a ticket to like an event that's like this, they'll be like, okay, sure, free tickets, let's go. Is there gonna be free food? Let's go. You know, those kind of things. So things like that just kind of like would put them in those spaces to like change their mindset so that you don't even have to really do anything. And while you do those like small steps and do the arguments, and then you kind of probably make a friend who's more likely to change from being around you and mirror your character.
Yeah, making friends is really key.
I would agree with both answers. I actually think my interest and willingness to understand environmental justice definitely brewed from those healthy arguments, because I definitely was on the other side of the spectrum where I was more so like, what does this have to do with me? Why is this my issue? You know, there's so many other things in the world to worry about. Why this? You know, so just being willing to now on the opposite end of the spectrum, being willing to accept the pushback, but also come with an open mind, be just as willing to understand that other person as you would want them to be willing to understand you, and just go from there. Have fun with it, you know, allow yourself to be educated and be willing to educate the ones that you are interacting with as well.
One of my favorite YouTubers, Khadijah, literally says, you can always change your mind because you can. So when you're having conversations with other people, also come to them with, you can always change your mind because you can.
We give a huge thanks to our panelists. We can give a round of applause. So thank you again for the Brave Young Leaders. This was a wonderful event that they put on as a culmination of the semester coming to an end. So thanks all the Brave Young Leaders for putting this together. The Brave team, we got the Brave team members, Jessica, Ty, Janine, and Hunter. But again, thank you all the panelists. Thank you so much. We're gonna turn this around. I also want to just thank our sponsors. We have City of Austin as a sponsor, Hall Foundation or Mental Health have been our sponsor, and then also our Brave members. They've been really supportive of sustaining all of our programming. So I know some of you have asked, like, how do you get involved with Brave? One way is our Brave membership. This is a great way. It's equity focused. We have different membership levels. It's just a great way for you to obviously participate with these free community events that we host every month. And then also we have special events and activities for our different members. So there's like flyers throughout the room. Also, you'll find it in some newsletters with ways you can be a Brave member. If you want to volunteer, we always are in the need of support. Again, we host monthly community events. And then we also have our upcoming Brave Fest coming. So that's going to be July 28th at Antone. So we're getting that. The lineup will be just revealed soon. And then also another great way to volunteer, we will be hosting a group of teen girls from the Asia Pacific region. They'll be coming the end of July. So we actually need homestay hosts. It's a cross-cultural exchange where they live with host families. So even if you can't do it, if you know of a neighbor or a colleague that's open to it, it's going to be teen girls from Fiji, Cambodia, Vietnam, Taiwan, and the States.
so we just need some homestays, and then we'll also do, we'll get them connected with some host organizations. And that's where we'll also have Brave Fest, will be that same weekend that they arrive here. And then our next month's event will be May 19th. That one is already organized. May is the Asian American Heritage Month and also Mental Health Awareness Month. And so we will be having an event at May 19th on Sunday from 2 to 4 at the Austin History Center. We have Vince Caballas who will be teaching us Tai Chi, and then also a great chance for networking. And we will also have some our international fellows from North Africa here at the same time, so it'll be a great networking opportunity too. So without further ado, please enjoy the rest of the afternoon. We've got this wonderful flower painting and pots with some of the seeds exchanged and our own seed swap here. And then feel free for some refreshments, and then just really this is our time for building relationships and just to be able to network. But thank you all so much, and thank you again for the panels and for Allyson.